Fox News contributor, former Republican Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. Good to see you, Governor. What is your reaction to what's being said about your daughter right now?
Well, they've got to have something to talk about. I mean, they can't talk about the fact that Donald Trump has delivered tax cuts, which means crumbs in people's paychecks. He's proposing so many of the things that the Democrats wanted, everything from family leave to infrastructure. He wants to triple the number of people that would receive benefits with a DACA solution, far more than the Democrats were asking for. It's like they can't take yes for an answer. And honestly, I think their only explanation is that the Democrats in unison decided to give up clapping for Lent. And so they just couldn't bring themselves to even acknowledge something like the national anthem. How do you not stand up and clap for the national anthem? But I believe they overplayed their angry, bitter hand. I think my daughter was exactly right. What Sarah said is true. Nancy Pelosi should have smiled more. She looked like she had an abscessed tooth that was about to kill her. And the rest of the Democrats honestly looked like they needed a big dose of Metamucil. And if they didn't get it, they were all going to just blow up and explode.
I don't know where to begin. By the way, you reminded us Lent is on the way. Thank you for that. President Trump, he did, to your point, he extended an open hand. Literally, he moved toward the Democrats with an open hand. And he's talking about bipartisan deals, also on immigration. Let's roll tape.
We presented Congress with a detailed proposal that should be supported by both parties as a fair compromise. For over 30 years, Washington has tried and failed to solve this problem. So let's come together, set politics aside, and finally get the job done.
Yeah, it's being talked about, the president's deal on immigration, as a serious deal, as one of the best in decades. Here's Nancy Pelosi saying, though, that tonight Donald Trump presented a self-congratulatory speech without vision. He promised unity, but sowed division. America deserves better. Okay, Governor, we know the president's term has been riven by division, often due to his own scathing comments. Last night it sounded like he wants to turn the page, though, no?
I think is exactly what he did. That was as soaring a speech as I've ever heard a president give. And I've been around a while. I've heard a lot of speeches. It was a brilliant and it was a compassionate speech. And the moment of the night for me was the escapee from North Korea holding up the crutches and many of the other people that he introduced. It brought a warmth and a heart to the whole process. Look, I didn't expect Nancy and Chuck to do the Texas two-step up and down the aisles of the House last night. I understand that, they're not supposed to be jumping for joy. But this isn't about their love or dislike for Donald Trump. This is about an embrace of this country, its citizens, its greatness, and the things that would make it better, including immigration reform that they've pretended that they really wanted. I think what they showed last night was they really don't want those things. If they had wanted them, they would have passed them when they had the White House and both houses of Congress. They didn't do it. And they don't want Donald Trump to do it. And so the truth is, I hope a lot of people around this country will understand the Democrats aren't working for you. They're working only to destroy Donald Trump's presidency, and that's pathetic, and nobody should go out there and vote for them and give us more of people like that in November.
Yeah, let's stay on immigration. Democrats did boo and hiss as President Trump spelled out his plans. Let's watch.
The fourth and final pillar protects the nuclear family by ending chain migration. Under the current broken system, a single immigrant can bring in virtually unlimited numbers of distant relatives. Under our plan, we focus on the immediate family by limiting sponsorships to spouses and minor children. This vital reform is necessary not just for our economy, but for our security and for the future of America.
Yeah, you heard that booing, Governor. What's your reaction?
Well, I wonder, what country do they represent in Congress? It can't be the United States. You got a president that's trying to make sure that the people who come here because they want to be Americans and build our country up. And the Democrats who were booing last night act like, no, we don't really care whether they love this country. We want to have open borders, no vetting, no serious discussion of why they're coming. And let's not stand for the national anthem. And then when there's a chant of USA, USA, one congressman gets up and walks out. I have to think he surely wasn't showing his lack of patriotism. He must have had a large bowl of Thai food for lunch, and it just got to him and he had to slip out. Why else would you get up and walk out when members of Congress of the United States of America are chanting USA?
Well, it was Louis Gutierrez from Illinois, the Democrat. He's the one who walked out. He's saying,
yes.
They're doubling down, saying the president basically is racist. That's what they're tanking to the voters in the midterms.
Come on.
But, they're talking about, but the Republicans are talking about policy. And, Governor, you had Chuck Schumer even saying afterwards, thank you, Obama. It's Obama's policies. That shows you they don't have they don't have policies right now.
No context, no perception. But the people of America aren't stupid. I know the Democrats who behaved like that last night must think they are. And there are some people who are blindly going to just believe what they want to believe. But there are a lot of American people, good, decent, hardworking people, who probably have voted for Democrats, voted for Hillary, and they watched that spectacle last night, and they were embarrassed and ashamed for them, because obviously some of those folks didn't have the capacity to be ashamed for themselves.
And Dick Durbin is saying he wants to work with the president now on issues like Dreamers. We had Joe Manchin standing up, Joe Donnelly standing up at certain points. Tim Kaine applauded the Apple, $350 billion deal coming back into the U.S. There were Democrats who did applaud. Governor, we're going to have you back on. We love having you on.